Hi everyone, welcome back to Melting the Ice, a podcast where we aim at melting away our insecurities, melting away the things that are holding us back, melting away our limitations, our fears. Yeah, I arranged my shirt. Melting away our limitations, our fears, and then emerging as best versions of ourselves, emerging as the happier versions of ourselves. This is episode 23 of what I call the Shireen's episode, a journey where we learn to reign no matter what. We learn to reign despite our fears. We learn to reign despite the things that want to hold us back. We get to reign and decide that we're going to rise above those things. I like to just jot down some things when I record. I find that I just like it. So I'm not sitting down today, but I do have my little book where I'm going to write down some things that, I want to take note of. Let's get right into it. So episode 23 of the Streams anyways. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Before we continue, sis, how's your day today? How was your day today? How are you feeling? If you're listening at night, I hope you had an amazing day. If you're listening in the morning, I hope you have the best day ever. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're new here, comment down below, hashtag new here. You can use that cute emoji. You know the emoji that has like hearts on the, like near the, not the hard eyes, the ones that had like, that has this, and then it has like hearts on the cheeks. If you can use that, new here, and that emoji, that will tell me everything I need to know. Let's get right into it. So before we continue, grab your drink. I have my drink here. Grab yours. And drop that. And let's get right into the video. So this is part 2. I don't think I wrote on the title, but I'm going to change that. This is part 2 of this episode, where I talk about the magnetic shift, the mindset shift that made me magnetic. And yesterday was part 1. It was very brief, it was very short. And I almost just wanted to introduce that topic. And I shared some personal things in that episode. So if you haven't, you can check that out if you feel, if you're curious to know what happens in there. But I just shared that being magnetic for me is honestly showing up. And I just shared how yesterday I didn't want to show up. And these days, I've just been feeling like, I've been feeling very heavy around my purpose, around the impact I want to make. And despite all the work I'm doing, it was starting to feel very heavy on me, to feel like I was just really no longer grounded in what really matters. And yesterday, that energy was so strong because I didn't want to show up. And I mentioned very vulnerably that for me, being magnetic, what it means to me is showing up even when I don't want to. What it means to me is realizing that my beauty, my radiance does not come from people realizing it on the outside, right? It does not come from people following me, subscribing to me, and, telling me that they're finding value in whatever it is I'm sharing. Me being magnetic is deciding that I am going to own my crowns. I'm going to accept and embrace myself in my entirety. And I shared that yesterday. Today I want to go a bit deeper, so God help me. So get ready. What does being magnetic mean to you? What does being magnetic mean to you? I'm going to ask you that question while you think about it. So I shared, for me, being magnetic is just truly choosing to just be me. And today I made a decision that I was going to show up as even more of myself. And every now and then on this journey, this amazing journey of me showing up here on YouTube, me sharing my light, I have this, epiphany. So I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to show up even more as myself. When I think I'm getting better, something happens, actually wants to allow me to show up as more of myself. So for me, being magnetic means to be more of me every single day. It's a journey. It doesn't happen overnight, right? It's a journey of decisions to constantly be, first of all, to be proud of me, to be proud of who I am, to be proud of what I represent, and to be proud of the impact I want to make. So that's the 3 things that are driving me forward. Because I feel like, I don't know, there's this thing, this energy of magnetism, like you have to try, you have to just do something outside of you. And I disagree. I feel like being magnetic, it comes from stillness. It comes from being still with yourself. Like, do you spend time with yourself? Do you spend time with yourself? I think that is probably the most important thing I would say. Yeah. Just spend time with yourself. Or are you just constantly trying to avoid being alone, trying to avoid being alone with your thoughts? Because I just said that being magnetic comes from being able to show up as, I want to put this down for a second. Being able to show up as being able to show up as more of yourself, being able to show up in every single day, the entirety of who you are. And to do that, you need to spend time with yourself. Because if you don't spend time with yourself, how do you even know what you are? How do you know what you're about? How do you know what matters to you? It comes from stillness. When you are still and just you and your thought, you can really realize what you are. And if you don't take that time to be still, you will never appreciate who you really are. And if you don't really appreciate what you are, how can you be magnetic? Because for me, magnetism is a very internal process, a very internal thing. If you don't spend time with yourself, you're constantly going to want others to mirror back something in you that you haven't seen in yourself first. You're going to want people to say certain things to you. But when you really begin to marvel at the beauty, at the privilege, as the gift that you are to this earth, you realize that actually, I think I'm good. Actually, I think I'm good. Actually, I think I've got it. Actually, I think I am somebody. Actually, I think I'm a light. I know everybody needs your light, and that's okay. I think to be magnetic, it really means that you understand that everybody's going to appreciate your light. But before anyone can even appreciate it, you have to recognize it. You have to recognize it. Because if you're constantly expecting people, if you're constantly expecting others to just like to point it out in you, to recognize it in you, have you really spent time in silence? Have you really gone to just be you and God and really just marvel as this person that you are? We're curious to know people, their names, curious to, consume content online, curious to get to know others, just curious to just like, want to just relax here. Curious to get to know others online. Curious to meet new people. Curious to go out. But how much investment, how much curiosity, how much time have you put into getting to know the girl in the mirror, the person in the mirror? How much time have you put in that? That is where magnetism really starts. I keep butchering magnetism. It's so funny. That is where magnetism really starts. I think it starts from a genuine desire of self, a genuine curiosity of really wanting to know what is in here, of really wanting to know without all the fluff, without everything else, without all the outside noise, what is really in here. Who am I? Who am I? Being able to accept that, despite how much you fall short from what you desire, despite how much you fall short in your eye, whether it's physically or whether it's with behaviors, being able to accept that and say, I find this person beautiful. We embrace others. We accept them for who they are. We love our friends, we love our families. But a lot of us are really struggling to accept ourselves. We're struggling to just make peace with the person in the mirror. It's fun for that person to become your best friend. I think that really leads to your journey of magnetism. But for now, at least be your ally. At least don't be your enemy. At least start being intentional about being with yourself. About being with yourself. What does that look like for you? I want to know. If today we're going to decide to, oh, hi, I see there's someone here. Hi. If today we're going to start and decide to spend time with yourself, what would that look like? If you're here right now, tell me. If today we're going to start to spend time with yourself, to really fall in love with yourself and to really, discover your own magnetism. Oh, hi, Kabibi. Hi, Kabibi. Oh my God, so happy to have you here. Yeah, welcome. I was saying that if today you were going to start doing things that start taking action towards getting to know who you really are. Because I believe that's how you become magnetic. What would you do? What is one thing you can start doing today that that is grounded in stillness? Not what other people are saying about you, not what other people think about you, but just something that you do just to really get to know the person that you are. Because I feel like, for me at least, being magnetic is not about chasing things outside of you. It's about just making a decision every single day to just try to get to know the person you are a bit better. And I feel like as you do that over time, you really be surprised what you find. You really be shocked to see that, wow, I didn't even know that I had this in me. I didn't even know that I had all this in me. I feel like for me too, I'm going to be very vulnerable. When I started this journey on my podcast, I was so afraid to show up live. And then I decided to finally, show my face on here, which I think was in May, I believe. I was so afraid to do that. And as I started to show up here live, I think I started by keeping promises to myself. I love that. Wow, keeping promises to yourself. That is very nice. That is a really nice place to start. Kabibi is saying that she's keeping promises to herself. I don't know how I can make this thing show up on the screen, but we'll figure that out for next life. She's saying that keeping promises to herself is the way that she's learning to become magnetic. And that's a very good example, because if you can't keep promises to yourself, if you tell yourself you're going to do something, you don't do it, then it's really hard for you to become magnetic, because you don't even trust the person that you are. If you can't trust yourself, how can you show up as the full you, the whole you? And for me, it's something that I'm actually struggling with myself, like saying I'll do something and actually following through and doing that thing. And I think it's so easy, because when it's for other people, for most of us, we will show up, we'll promise to do something and we'll show up. When it's for us, especially I feel like women watching this, maybe we really struggle with showing up for ourselves. And how can you be magnetic if you're not even showing up for yourself? If you're showing up because you think that people want to see this, you're showing up as a version of yourself you think people want to see. And that's what I wanted to talk about, actually, because for me, when I first started coming on live here, I was performing a little bit, even though I wasn't aware of that, because I was just doing my best. And I'm so proud of that version of me in May who decided to just show up here, because it's so scary, I was just performing because I was just thinking, how can I give so much value? And I was like, how can I just give so much value? How can I just make your life better? And I was just filling my head with all those things and forgetting that me showing up as myself is really making the world a better place, because I'm really encouraging somebody else who is another woman in the world, or anybody, to be able to know that who they are, how they are right now is enough. They don't have to do something outside of themselves to be enough or to be magnetic. They don't have to do something. They don't have to have 10,000 likes, 10,000 subscribers, or make 50K a month to actually be worthy of being listened to. Because I always say this, because God really put the confirmation in your heart. God already confirmed your gift. But yet we're always out here trying to get people to approve of it. Tell people that, oh, hey, look, am I okay? Is this good enough? When the desire you have in your heart, that God put in your heart, is really all you need to know to tell you that you're supposed to be doing this. So if you're constantly chasing people to accept you, to validate you, tell you, okay, how can you become magnetic? Because you haven't decided to spend time with yourself to actually get to know the person that you are. So for me, like I was saying, I'll come on here and I'll honestly try to just think what you guys would like, what would make sense for you. Like I'll be thinking, how can I make your life better? And nothing wrong with those things. How can I make your life better? What can I add to them? What can I add to them? What can I add to them? And I noticed very quickly that I was despising going live. I began to hate it. I began to drag myself, because I noticed that I was pretending. I wasn't really being myself. I wasn't really showing up as who I thought I was going to be. And at some point, I believed the lie that my presence, who I am, human, wasn't enough, or that you guys would want something else that was somewhat better than me, somewhat better than who I am now. How is that even possible? So when you think like that, how can you become magnetic? When you don't even think that as you are right now, you are enough. And I'm being very vulnerable right now. And yesterday, even up to yesterday, I felt so bad. I didn't want to show up live, because I was still like in this idea of numbers. Despite how much work I'm doing on myself, I was still thinking, oh my goodness, I'm putting in so much effort. I'm in this challenge, and I'm just, nothing is working. That's a lie. Okay, when you get into that mindset of nothing is working, or I'm doing nothing is working, you believe the lie of the enemy, because that is not even true. Because you showing up is like the biggest win ever. The biggest win ever. How can you be magnetic if you're believing lies about yourself? If you're believing that, if you're believing lies about yourself, that your essence is not enough, that you have to, I don't know, go and climb Mount Kilimanjaro and come back and then show people your certificate. Hey guys, I did this thing. Now am I enough? And even then, even if you go and climb, I don't know, Mount Everest and come back, that's the people out there who used to think that, why didn't you do all the mountains, human? Should have done this more. You're not enough. In other words, like when you're trying to satisfy people on the outside, nothing you will ever do will be enough. Because the truth is, you're not enough to yourself. And then you're mirroring that image back at people because you don't even believe that you're enough. So how can others think that you're enough? I feel like most people that want to be magnetic, they want to manipulate people into showing this image that, like they have made it, that they are so cool. And then they want people to buy that image. And the truth is that you're only fooling yourself. You're only deceiving yourself. Even if people seem to believe it, people seem to be onto something, you always feel like a fraud on the inside. You always feel like a fraud because you really haven't developed that inner self-worth. You haven't really grounded yourself in what really matters. Not validation, not likes, not comments, not all of those things, but confirmation. And confirmation comes from your heart. So it's so important to honestly decide what really matters. Today, this morning, I made a decision because I was like, you know what? I am going to show up even more as myself. I don't even know what that is because I don't know all of me yet. Right? I'm forgetting my age. I'm still very young, but I don't even know all of me yet. But yet I was just putting this pressure on myself that I want to give all this value. I want to give all this value. Oh, Kavivi said not, you climb Mount Everest, but what about all the other mountains? Exactly. Exactly. People are going to be like, you climb Mount Everest. Okay, how about Mount Kilimanjaro? Did you do that too? How about, and then you're going to keep, thanks, Kavivi. Yeah, because people are going to tell you, you're going to see a trend online saying that, magnetic women paint make their hair purple, and then you're going to do your hair purple. And next thing you know, somebody's going to tell you, why didn't you do your hair pink? And then you're going to start feeling stupid. It's like, if you constantly want to be in that place where your mental health is always just going up, down, up, down, up, down, then like ground yourself in the worldview and see what happens to you. And see what happens to you. I think being magnetic for me is honestly all about accepting what you are. Accepting what you are. Because you don't even know what that is. Because even if you were to live unto 1,000, I'm sure that there'll still be new parts of yourself that you'll be discovering every single day. Because people are so complex. People can live together for 30 years and still discover new things about each other. Right? So why do you feel like what you are is not enough when there are parts of you haven't even discovered yet? And how will you discover those parts of yourself if you don't like ground yourself in stillness? That can look like anything. That can look like prayer, meditation. That can look like going for walks in nature. That can look like Bibi said, she said keeping promises to herself. But like you have to decide what that will look like for you. Because if you don't find a way to disconnect from the world and actually ground yourself in what really matters, and what really matters is not what you can see, like your physical appearance, the things you can touch, like the things you can see, the likes, the followers, those are not good things to ground yourself in because those things don't really matter. And every time you choose to ground yourself in those things, you always feel disappointed. You always feel like, you got the short end of the stick because you did. Because every time you do that, a part of you is believing that something about you is not enough. Something about you is not good enough. So now you have to try to do all of these things. Nothing wrong with wanting to become better, to learn, right? To expand, to become a better version of yourself, right? But it depends on your intention. If your intention is because you feel like you're doing this thing because now you're going to be okay, now they're going to like you, now you're going to get the likes, or you're taking this course because now you're going to get X amount of likes, even if you get those likes, you're still going to feel miserable because the hole within you that you think the likes will fill, the likes will only fill like 1% of that hole. And you'll still be left with 99% of this big fat hole in your heart. And you'll be wondering, what am I doing wrong? And then there you go on a new errand to climb a new mountain, thinking that this mountain will fill me. Yes, this mountain will fill me, this one. And then you climb that mountain, you do the thing, and you still feel empty because you haven't found stillness. Because the hole that you feel in your heart, the hole that will make you magnetic, only you can fill that hole. And for me, I don't know about only God or whatever you believe in the universe, everyone is welcome here. Only God can fill that hole. Because if you try to fill that hole with things that you can see, including even your physical appearance, it's not going to work out. Like you have to ground yourself in the unseen, what you can't see. Because ultimately, what is the realest things are the things that you can't see. Love, you can't see love, but you can feel love, right? Presence, you can't see presence, but you can feel presence. Okay, so whatever you can't see are the things that you want to ground yourself in. If you can see that thing already with your eyes, forget it. Forget it. It's not going to fill the hole you're trying to fill in your heart. And I'm sure if you want to be magnetic, you want to start that journey of filling that hole. And now you'll be thinking, can I ever fully fill that hole? I think moment to moment, yes. Moment to moment, because I always say that, and everybody who is here, everyone is an empress. And I always say that an empress is not afraid to return. And what does that mean? Returning is honestly not being afraid to go back and doing the work, not being afraid to go back and saying, oh, I have to check this thing. I have to get better at this thing. And it might be like you spend time with yourself, but then you realize that, oh, you like hit a new blockage where now you're still seeking approval. And then you do work on that. And then you hit a new blockage where you're still spending, like seeking approval. That's going to happen. But even if it happens, it doesn't mean that something is wrong with you. It doesn't mean that you're stupid. All it means is that, that parts of yourself that needed more than you thought they needed. Maybe when you decide to return and to ground yourself into stillness, into the unseen, you comfort this part of you. And then there are other parts that are waiting for that time. And those parts will not show up on your own timing. They're not on your payroll. Those parts of you will not show up on your own timing. They'll show up when they want to show up. Because they know when they want to be sorted. They know when they want to be comforted and how they want to be comforted, and you can't decide that. So even when you do this for 10 years and something still shows up for you, it doesn't mean that you're stupid. All it means is that this thing was waiting for now. Now is the perfect moment for you to deal with this. So instead of beating yourself up, just tell yourself that, okay, I guess now is the moment for me to deal with this. It's not a time for you to beat yourself up and for you to now escape and find something else to soothe yourself. Find something that you can see. Finding, I don't know, reels, whatever it is you can see to now try to fill that hole. Now you're back to square one. But if you fill that thing, you decide that, oh, okay, this thing has waited for this time, which means that now is the time. Now is the best time for me to deal with this. Now is the best time for me to look at this. And then you actually return. Like I say, every empress needs to enjoy the process of returning. And returning is usually going back to that part of you and just being present and just grounding yourself in stillness, whatever you want to do, whether you want to go for a walk, all the examples that they said, whatever it is you want to do, grounding yourself in stillness and not running away from that thing. And understanding that hole you feel, only you can give it to yourself. Only unseen things, only God can give you that peace that you're looking for. And every single time you're going to have to keep doing this process all over and over again. And over time you realize that you feel more magnetic, not because somebody's telling you, oh, you're so magnetic, hey you, but because you realize that you no longer have to seek things outside of you to make you feel good. You're no longer outsourcing your happiness. You're no longer outsourcing your joy. You're no longer outsourcing your excitement. Those things, you realize that you have like the factory, you have the joy factory within you. You're like, okay, I can create joy whenever I want to. I have joy factory, I have excitement factory within me. You have all those factories within you. And it's actually funny because your brain produces all those chemicals, right? So you literally have the factory. I'm not even joking. You have that factory. So why aren't you using it? Why aren't you using it? I have this, it's called Crown Code. It's 11 days of shedding, 11 days of remembering your crowns. I believe that every girl, every woman is an empress. And when you remember your crowns, what happens is I no longer have to like chase people, because now you remember your crowns. No longer have to seek magnetism or no longer have to try to become magnetic, because you realize that all you have to do is just to be still and to remember. So it's like a crown remembering program in an ebook form. It's free. The link is down below. It's called Crown Code, 11 days of shedding, 11 days of remembering your crowns. And when when you actually do that work, you see the lies that were always tripping you up. Because I feel like, if you don't have a problem, how can you fix it? For example, I have a stutter. I'm going to be very vulnerable. I have a stutter, and I'm always saying it because I feel like the more I share it, the more I release myself of the shackles of shame that I have around it, and the more I'm able to just say it here publicly. That I stopped beating myself up because I realized that there's actually nothing to be ashamed of, and I can also maybe encourage somebody to come out with what I call your crown cringe, and just be you. So if you're not aware of a problem, how can you fix it? I have a study, for example, and me coming out here and being vulnerable and open about it, and me being intentional and trying to get better every single time, I can actually get better over time, right? But if I have a stutter and I'm not aware of a stutter, how can I make it better? If I'm not aware that I have this thing, how can I make it better? So the same way that when you have lies in your subconscious mind and you're not aware of those lies that are tripping you up, those lies that are telling you that you have to buy your magnetism, that you have to hustle for your magnetism, that you have to try so hard to be magnetic, like you're not aware of those lies that are playing in your mind, and then you subconsciously always try to fill your holes with external things, like I mentioned, social media, things that you can touch, whatever it is, food. You try to fill those holes with those things because you're not aware of the lies that are playing in your mind. And in this free crown code, 11 days, we literally look at some of the biggest lies that are holding you back from remembering your crowns, and being able to see that. And I even have a whole unmasking prayer where we can literally unmask those things, those lies. And then we have like an empress move, an action you can take today to be able to help you, like, to be able to help you affirm that crown to yourself, to be able to really take action in the physical world that can show you that you're no longer the person you were before. And all of that is 11 days, and it's actually free. And the link is down below. It's called Crowned Codes 11 Day Coronation. So if you feel like it's for you, I hope you check it out. I also have what I call Crowned Activation. And Crown Activation is pretty much 80 minutes of like Crown Codes, but like a more powerful version of Crown Codes. It's 80 minutes, and we literally help you forget all those lies. Not even forget, we look at the lies and then you realize that they're not even true. And we unmask those lies like never before. Because like I just said, when you're aware of those lies and you're aware of what they're doing to you, and you don't fight them. Because if you fight the lies, then you're wasting your time. Because when you want to eat ice cream, you say, I'm not gonna eat ice cream. We all know how that works out. You eat even more ice cream. So when you actually are aware of those lies and you're not fighting them, but now you're able to return, like I said, an empress is not afraid to return. You're able to return to that part of you that wants to eat the ice cream and have compassion. You're able to be kind to that version of yourself. You're able to sit with that version of yourself without being afraid, and you're able to reign from that place. So almost like that course actually gives you a place to, like a trampoline, to jump into your next level. To just be like, woo, to jump into your next level. Like this in 80 minutes. If you don't want it to take 11 days, 11 days a free part. But if you want it to happen in 80 minutes, where I give you like three steps where you return, you seal, like when after you return to it, you seal it, like you solidify, like it's mine now, this is my crown now, whatever. And then you now reign. The link is down below. It's called Crowned Activation. And that is good because you don't just remember your crowns like in crown codes, you activate those crowns. And that's nice because when you activate the crowns, are you going to be out here trying to be magnetic? Are you going to be out here trying to perform for your worth? Are you going to be out here being afraid of how people are going to judge you? And those might happen on your journey, right? But then now you know how to return. I feel like we don't make mistakes because I feel like we don't get messed up because we make mistakes. We get messed up because we're afraid to return to that part of ourselves. We're afraid of how we're going to be seen. We're afraid of how we're going to be judged. Because if you make a mistake and you know that you are safe, you know that you have what it takes to move forward, you know that you have what it takes to become better, you know that this mistake can actually be a trampoline into propelling you into the better version of yourself, then there's actually no need to stress. There's no reason to be anxious. Right? Like I told you how yesterday I felt what I felt. Today I was in tears, and I was able to return and do my work, and now today I'm able to show up more confident. Not because I'm not gonna have such moments in the future. Of course I'll have such moments in the future, but I'm an empress because I'm no longer afraid of those moments, because I know that I can return, I can remember my crown, and I can propel myself to my next level, feeling even more powerful. And of course, because I'm here and people are judging you by the external things, nothing has changed in my external world, right? But everything has changed internally because of how I see myself. And if you even watch, my video of yesterday and this video of this the one I'm making today, you will just see a difference in my demeanor because I've done my work, because I've remembered my crown, because I've crowned myself. So if you feel like you no longer want to be tied to those limitations, the links are down below, Yeah. So magnetism is not tied to external things. It's tied to your capability of returning, of being still, of not tying your worthiness to what you look like in this moment, to not tying your worthiness to your lowest low, to not tying your worthiness to the worst moment in your life, but being able to remember your crown, being able to know that no matter how low you fall, the lower you fall, the higher you can trampoline into your next level, right? Because then it just means that you get to go higher, right? It's only bad when you're afraid of it. Failing is only bad when you're afraid of failing. When you see failing as a launch pad, when you see failing as an opportunity to actually get to higher heights, you understand that, well, it's not such a bad thing after all, because I want to know what's on the other side of this thing. Because failure is on one side of the coin, the other side of the coin is your next level. But if you reject the coin, when you get the coin, you're like, I don't want this coin, take it away, trash this coin, whatever, trash this coin, then you will never see what's on the other side of that coin. The other side of that coin was your next level, was your trampoline moment. But if you keep rejecting that coin, how are you gonna know? How are you gonna know? You're never gonna know what's on the other side of that, right? So me showing up here today, use me as an example, is me deciding to see what's on the side of my coin. And what was it? What was it? The better version of human, the human who can show up here more as herself, the human who can show up here remembering her crown, crowning herself fully in her glory, and knowing that she might have tougher days in the future, but she's not a weakling. She has what it takes to return. She has what it takes to stand up, right? She's not alone. And she has what it takes. I think just being in that awareness, it makes everything better because you realize that actually I'll be fine. No matter what happens, I'll be fine. I fall, I'll be fine. I cry, I'll be fine. I cried this morning, right? Can you tell my face? No, I'm smiling here. But I'm telling you so you know that these days are, thank you, Kavivi. She said, love it. These days are very normal. These days are very normal. Okay. I remember when I first started this my online business thing, and that was like, what am I calling it a thing? My online business gift. Sorry, it's not a thing. Thank you. It's not a thing. Okay, let's continue. My online business gift, and that was in April. And in April, I launched what I call my one-to-one sessions. I call it Clarity Shift Sessions with Your Men. I don't have an accent. Clarity Shift Sessions with Your Men, where we pretty much help you shift into more clarity. And I was so afraid because I was like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this thing my whole life. Since I was 5 years old, I always give people advice. People will literally line up to talk to me, to tell me about their problems, just the things that were stressing them out. And I always felt more comfortable around adults, like people that were grown, because people that were my age, I think I was just too weird for them because I was always talking about deep stuff. And people that were adults who told me about their pains, and I'll just give them advice. I didn't even know where it was coming from. But yet still, I'll tell people their gift. I'll tell people, oh, you're so good at this. And I'll be so good at telling people their gift and telling people how to, move forward with clarity. And I always tell my friends, oh my gosh, I don't know what my gift is. I don't know what am I here to do? And it's so funny because the thing you're so good at, the thing that makes you magnetic is the thing that you're so oblivious to because you can't see it. Because you can't see yourself, right? Like you're in your body now, and the experience that I have right now, saying this, is not the experience you have right now watching me. I'll never know the experience you have watching me. Even if I was to watch this video, I'll never know what the experience is like for you. So I didn't know what my gift was, and I was always saying this thing. And it was so, and then in April of this year, I was like, girl, stop playing. Stop playing. You know what your gift is? Thank you, Kabibi. She said, I love your origin story. Sending you kisses. Thank you so much. So I was like, stop playing, stop messing around. Like, you know that you are born to speak to people. Every time you speak to people will tell me randomly, how do you always know what to say, your man? And I'm like, I do. Like, yeah, you always know what to tell me. I'm like, thanks. And when my friends are like, was like, what do you do? And I'm just like, girl, I just speak from my heart. I don't know what it is. I open my mouth and God takes over. I don't know what happens. And I will say those things, but it never clicked to me what my gift was. So as you're watching me right now, I'm sure there's something that you're so good at that you don't even realize because you can't see yourself, right? You're going to have to become to remember all the times when you're just like having so much fun, all the times when you're just like, you feel so much more alive. I remember, what were you doing in those times? What were you doing? What were you watching in those times? Try to remember. It might be hard, but now that you know this, when that happens, just try to take a mental note and then write it down. So in April of this year, I decided to literally launch Clarity Two Sessions for Human. And I was terrified to charge for it. I was like, oh my God, like, do I have the right to charge for someone to talk to me? Who am I? Like, what right do I have to do that? And I was just doubting myself. Even though I was doubting myself, baby girl still charged for it. Even though I was doubting myself, baby girl still put a price tag. Which I'm so proud of myself because, you know, I still put a price tag on it. I just let it there. Like, I left it there. I had like a page and I put it on my Instagram. I did it, which is huge, right? I did it. I'm not going to tell you how much it was. You're going to have to go into that link to find out for yourself, and then maybe we can talk about it. So I did that. And then afterwards, I felt so bad. I felt like I was going to die. I was terrified. I was like, how? I was literally having like shivers. Like, who am I to do this? So just tell you that you can feel those. You can feel that moment, like that fear, like, who am I to do this? And you can still do it. I did it, and I didn't die. Clearly, I'm still here, alive and healthy. I didn't die. So I'm sure the same thing is going to happen for you. And then one day I was just having this moment where I was crying and I was laughing. I was having a whole moment with God, and I was just all like, oh my gosh, like, God, who am I to do this again? That false self, who am I to do this again? I was like, you know what? If a person ever questions me and asks me, yo man, who are you to do this thing? How about I make a course? And I'm like, who am I to do this thing? Here, buy this course and find out. I sound crazy, right? I was like, who am I to do this thing? I'm going to make a course. I was like, buy this and find out who I am. This is who I am. Go ahead. And I was just laughing. I thought it was so funny. So I was having fun with that, like, laughing. And I was like, actually, like, this is not such a bad idea, actually. Because, like, an empress turns, thank you, Kavivi. An empress turns her gunk into her gold, right? Turns her what's dirty into her gold. So I was like, this thing is causing a lot of shame for me. So why don't I like put myself even more out there and actually create a course on having 0 views? Because I literally had 0 views. And even now, I have a video that has like 1 view. And I'm not ashamed to say it because it's not a reflection of my worth or who I am. I'm saying it proudly. So I was like, I'm going to create a course on 0 views. And remember that you're fully crowned, whether you have 0 views or you have 1,000 views. It's called 0 views, fully crowned. And that was just like the biggest joke of my life. Here we go. So I was like, I'm going to make a course. Your inner dialogue was priceless. Thank you, Kavivi. She said your inner dialogue was priceless. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to make that course. And I did it. Like literally in the month of April, I made like, how many offers did I do in April? 1, 2, 3. I did like 3 offers in April. The Clarity Sessions to Human. Then I made like a prayer ebook. Then I did 0 views, fully crowned, all in April, all in that 1 month, even though I was terrified. And for me, I think that's like, what's magnetism if not that? Magnetism, knowing that I can do it. I proved to myself that I could be magnetic. I didn't wait for somebody to give me a crown. I crowned myself. I was shaking in my boots. I was terrified, but I still crowned myself either way. And I want you to know that you can do it. Whether you decide to get my free crown codes or decide to get my crown activation, or you decide to feel like, you want to be fully crowned, even if you have 0 views. All those links are down below, because I feel like we often see this idea that if you don't have views, you can't have a product. If you don't have views, you can't sell. Like you can't sell your gift. Your gift was always there. Since you were born, your gift was always there. And I feel like God was only waiting on you to put it out there for the world. Now, whether the world buys, whether the world doesn't care, whether the world scoffs at you and be like, human, who are you? The moment you decided to make it available, you already won. Because you're able to take something that was in your heart and you're able to make it something outside of you. Now that thing is no longer inside of me. Because when it stays inside of you, it will make you sick. And I feel like I had that sickness for so long because I always knew what my gift was, but I was so afraid to actually take a leap of faith for like 10 years. Because since I was a child, I always knew. And I was so afraid. But me actually taking that decision to actually create those things, I'm already the winner. Whether somebody makes fun of me or thinks whatever it is, I'm cringy. Yes, honey, I'm cringy. Yes, I am a bit cringy. All of us are. Thank you. But I don't have to be ashamed of it though. All those little things that make you cringy, that make you a bit weird, like the facial expressions you make. Because my face, I make the craziest expressions. I didn't realize I did expressions until I started going live. And I realized that I'm actually very expressive. People used to tell me I didn't believe it. Now I understand. Now I get it. I do. So like all of us have those things that make us cringy, that make us a bit weird. But if you don't own those things, how can you become magnetic? Because truly, those things that are the things that really make you you, are the things that really make you the empress that you are. But the truth is that you want others to like those things. Let's be honest. You want others to like those things. But then you're too ashamed to show those things about yourself. You're too ashamed to own them. Like you do them, then you hide, then you do this weird thing where you're like, you know, that thing that you do, I don't know what to do, but we all do something. Because you're just ashamed to show that thing. But when you decide to honestly own those things, no matter how weird you are, like when I recorded my first chorus, just Zero Views Fully Crowned, a joke between me and God, a joke around me charging for my one-to-one sessions and me deciding to charge for those one-to-one sessions, whether I had 0 views or a billion views. That was how I made that chorus. I wanted to help other people also start and create a chorus where they were charging boldly for their offers, whether they had 1 view or 1,000 views. 0 views Fully Crowned. When I did that, oof, I felt like I felt like I unlocked a new level. I did. Now you might think, you're so cocky, sis. You have to be proud of yourself sometimes. You have to be proud of yourself sometimes. Nothing wrong with that. Being magnetic is also being able to realize that, hey, that I did a pretty cool thing. That was cool. That was cool. And I felt so weird. And after I made that chorus and decided to transform my shame into something beautiful, people began to ask me about my one-to-one sessions, which is really weird. My friends were like, "Oh, your one-to-one sessions, can I pay you for them?" And I was like, "You've known about these one-to-one sessions for days. Why do you want to?" My African accent is coming out now. Why do you want to charge? Why do you want to pay me for this now? I was like, "Are you serious? Is that true?" And they were like, "Yeah, actually." And I was like, "But we talk all the time. Why don't you just we can just hop on the phone?" They were like, "No, it's different. It's different. Like, I want to actually book a session with you." But that was after I actually made my 0 views fully crown. After I actually owned my crown cringe and I became even more shameless about my gift. I feel like when you become even more shameless, God is like, yes, yes. Like she's playing in a whole different court now. She's no longer in the children's court where she made something, she's ashamed of it. She made something, she was ashamed of it. She took that shame and she made something else. And I want to tell you that after that, it was all rainbows and sunshine, but it wasn't. Like today, I still had a whole crying moment, but I still returned, which is the most important thing. It's not about making mistakes. It's about, can you return after you make mistakes? Can you come back on the live and disgrace yourself like I'm doing right now, and and just be myself and just being cringy and weird? Can you show this version of yourself for the whole world to see? Can you do that? I feel like when you can do that, then you are magnetic. Then you are magnetic. Nothing else to put, nothing else to show. When you can do that, then you are. Even if people say that it's whatever it is they say it is, what does it mean to you to be magnetic? I just told you what it means to me. So I hope this can actually help you figure out what it means to you. And I hope you enjoy this live, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, Kabibi, for being here. I appreciate you so much. Your comments made feel my heart. Thank you so much. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Anyone who's watching this. Well, actually, I always say this. Whether you're watching me today, whether you're watching me tomorrow, or you're watching me in 1,000 years, please like, comment, subscribe. Thank you. Bye. Mic drop. I love you too. Thank you so much. Bye.